before getting started, a few quick words about today's video sponsor. Today is a product that actually relates very heavily to the Division 2 and to other shooters for that matter. It's called Game Glass, and it helps give a competitive edge with a crosshair overlay, and I do use one myself. It's not a blind promotion. I think it's a really good fit for today's video especially, and it also has a lot of uses in some other maybe unexpected areas too. For instance, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Some players really struggle with archery, and this solves that problem perfectly. There is a discount link down below in the description for those who are interested, so again, thank you Game Glass for working with the channel. Alright, so this video is in a sense a follow-up to a follow-up, but then again, when you closely examine the majority of content on YouTube, it has no value anyways, so it's whatever. Yet again, I want to address something about Division 2, but the game itself is more just a hyper-relevant example rather than the actual focus. The topic is betas versus demos, and in a video a few days ago I discussed Division 2 versus Division 1, drawbacks, warning signs, reasons why it is or is not going to be a similar launch day scenario, and some other things, but among all of that I touched on the partial use of the game's beta offering as an incentive to pre-order. Some of the feedback locked in on this, rightly so, and pointed out that a beta is different than a demo and that the beta is totally fine to be included as a pre-order incentive as it has more to do with stress testing, bug fixing / finding, and other practical development applications than a demo would. That is correct, or rather used to be correct, and what little remains in the way of distinction between the two terms is even less visible or true of the Division in particular, especially right now. In the past, there were demo discs in actual physical magazines, or free demos for popular online games available for download that offered about 10 hours of gameplay or one specific area to explore, but over time those offerings have almost completely dried up. I know that on rare occasions, games will still offer demos, but the truth of the matter is, the vast majority of large game releases nowadays do not, and never will feature any sort of literal, traditional demo. Instead, gamers are left with reviews, whichever source they choose is their prerogative, and betas, since demos, largely speaking, no longer exist. I suggest that the term demo and beta are now synonymous. This is even more true with the Division in particular. Let's examine the PTS, for example. Literally speaking, the PTS is a public test server, but in reality, the ratio of players who go onto the server and do any sort of legitimate testing is minuscule. The testing, with air quotes around that, mainly included gravitating towards whatever is strongest, only using that one thing and killing each other repeatedly with it while claiming they are testing things, and some feedback and useful data is garnered from this process to be sure, especially regarding whichever gear set, mechanic, or skill is the main focal point, but almost all other areas of the game receive little to no legitimate testing or feedback except from a very few dedicated sources. Another thing to take into consideration is how much of the feedback is actually implemented. In its first phases, the PTS resulted in dramatically changed material between its offering and full release, but over time, the PTS had less and less change implementation and inched even closer to just being a here is the content, come play it early type of platform. The same thing is becoming true with betas, and it will be especially true of the Division 2 beta. The most valuable element of a beta offering would be, in my eyes, a stress test for player numbers, but getting a reliable stress test while closing off the program behind expensive pre-orders guarantees you will not get the right kind of results. A public beta afterwards would solve this problem, yes. It didn't really solve it in the Division 1 though, that's for sure. Launch day servers were basically a delta error simulator on day 1, but I digress. I believe that even though the two words in a quite literal sense mean different things, gamers at large should recognize that those meanings are interchangeable now with only slight differences. A beta can also garner useful tech information, but it is also used as a demo to see if players enjoy the mechanics and experience. Companies should lean into this, not run away from it. They should recognize what is actually happening when they hold a beta and adjust their parameters to better cater to that audience. In light of the demo concept having been almost completely wiped out, the stone cold truth is that most players just treat betas directly as demos. A core reason behind why all of this will probably never happen, however, has been prominent in the industry for some time. Large games and companies have pushed in an ever-increasing way towards limiting information pre-release. They load up their pre-order numbers by offering heavy incentives, and though it's not totally accurate to say it this way, I'm going to do it anyway, they trick gamers into buying their unfinished product, sometimes. The bait and switch is real in the gaming industry with certain companies and practices. This is not to accuse Division 2 of all of this behavior. Some of it maybe yes, but definitely not all. Ubisoft is in a strange position right now, in my eyes, seeing as half the time I engage with gamers who decisively hate them for very inarticulate reasons, and other times it's just a parade of shills who obviously just want special favors and won't ever say anything critical of their practices. But getting back on topic, that's a bit of a tangent. Division 2 bringing a matching playable to E3 and offering it was not a beta, it was a demo. The main incentive was not tech information, to my understanding, but showcasing what the game is, and that is what we need more of in order to allow gamers to make informed purchase or pass decisions. When a game is well crafted and well built, it has nothing to fear by offering a demo. A demo would boost its numbers because it's worth buying and players would want more after that little first taste. But a badly built game with problems, lacking content, and holes in its design can't offer a demo, so what do? They remove demo from the equation, only offer betas, air quotes there around that, and only gate those betas behind pre-orders. It's a trend we have seen and are continuing to see emerge in the industry for quite some time. Again, this is not the exact scenario for Division 2, but my comparison and commentary on the beta access being gated behind pre-order at the first stage is based on this mindset, and it's born out of passion for the game, not animosity. This video will not likely have any sort of impact whatsoever on the Division 2 in any tangible way, but the back and forth between myself and the upper echelon community in the form of general responses to overall feedback on video content feels really good, and it seems to be in a healthy place. So that is a big contributing factor to why I produce and will continue to produce this sort of video. In any upcoming release, there will be bits and pieces that some players disagree with. I have my gripes with microtransactions and loot boxes, with a stash space upgrade attached to the Ultimate Edition, and with the early access portion of the pre-orders as well. But they are not red flags so big that I will boycott the game or forget all of the positive signs that I have seen. The things that are quite obviously changed for the better, the more precise vision of the development team, and the various other upgrades across the board. One of the smaller red flags is using the beta as an incentive for pre-order, even just for one phase, and having played the game already, I can say from a personal perspective that a demo would not be a bad thing. Give more people access to it. If it truly is all about gathering tech info, that's the right call anyways, and this time around, maybe even up the ante since launch day of the original game was so rocky, to put it kindly. Some gamers have some trouble acknowledging that these trends are in fact in a constant state of progression. We have seen it in so many areas, especially with monetization, and it is not impossible that very soon we could see companies dip their feet into new waters and lock down pre-release info even further. An interesting point made by some that really isn't actually interesting was that it's okay to lock down a beta offering to pre-purchase customers because since they have the money and have opted to pre-order, that they are more invested and thus better testers. That is idiotic. Prepaying, having more money, any and all of those or similar factors have no bearing whatsoever on a player's ability to test, aptitude, or diligence when offered a new environment. If a beta is legitimately used for glitch and bug info gathering, exploit awareness, and everything else along those lines, it should be crowdsourced to as many people as possible, because strictly limiting it to those who have already paid, and even more extreme, which could easily become the trend very quickly, to those who have paid a hefty chunk extra, cuts down on both the quality and quantity of info that can be gathered. Not to mention the fact that it also makes it harder for players legitimately to know whether or not they would like to purchase the game. Pretty relevant, I am about to start working on some content for Blackout right now, the new Battle Royale mode that's coming in Black Ops 4, and I had to pre-order to get beta access. And while it can double as a stats gathering offering for them, it also is being used by myself and I'm sure many others as a demo, leading back into the assertion that beta and demo have become synonymous through the removal of the demo concept from mainstream gaming. And also, by the way, if I don't like Blackout and if I end up pre-ordering, playing the demo, beta, whatever, and not liking it, you best believe I'm getting a refund on that. What do all of you think, particularly when applied to Division 2, since that's a core aspect of the channel? Should betas be used as demos by the player base? Should they be restricted or unrestricted? I am curious as to the general sentiment regarding this topic, and I hope a lot of people will contribute in the comments down below. Again, before wrapping up, I want to thank GameGlass for working with me and providing a discount for interested members of our community. Division 2 is going to have no crosshair or reticle specifically when hip firing, and GameGlass is a perfect fit to solve that problem and give a competitive edge, in the dark zone or wherever else if you're hip firing. That's just one use. It's easy to set up, it's non-invasive, and there are a host of other games, modes, and situations where it helps, so check it out if it might be something that you're interested in. To be clear, I am trying to open relationships only with brands and products that I both personally use and find to be highly useful and high quality. As always, there are a lot of different ways to support the channel down below, linked in the description. If you want, you can grab some Division-themed merch or some other items there too. I have considered live streaming on YouTube a lot recently, but for the moment I am on Twitch, and a link can be found if you want to follow that channel. We have our gaming forums, Discord server, Facebook group, tons of different places to have discussions and get involved with our community. So again, if that's your cup of tea, welcome on board. But I'll cut it there. Thank you for watching yet again, and have a nice night.